Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto Was a League Summoner. If you guys enjoy this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. And now, please allow me to inform you all about the rules of the new game mode. Graphia continued, her voice echoing throughout the Devil's Rift as the Gremory and Citri teams settled in their respective bases, getting familiar with the new battleground. For this new game mode, the main objective of the two teams has been changed. No longer will the victor be decided by taking out the enemy king, but by bringing down the structure that is called Nexus, which each time will be guarding, and simultaneously aiming for in the enemy's base. Similar to the game League of Legends, each Nexus will be protected by two Nexus turrets, and magically empowered by two inhibitor structures, which in turn will be guarded by two outer and one inner turret, distributed evenly in three main lanes. In order for the Nexus to be targetable, the two Nexus turrets and at least every structure within a single lane needed to be taken down. Likewise, the two teams will need to take down every tower within their respective lanes to take down the inhibitors. However, keep in mind that these structures will respawn 10 minutes after being destroyed, rendering the Nexus turrets and the Nexus themselves non-targetable. Aya's Gremory Sama and her peerage will be protecting the Crimson Nexus, which located on the southwest of the rift, while Sona Citri Sama and her peerage will be protecting the Blue Nexus, locating in the northeast section of the battlefield. And aside from the lanes, about 60% of the battlefield is covered in jungles and rivers, populated with animals and neutral monster camps. In each of these camps there will have a treasure chest contain a number of sigils of jungle for both teams to fight for. These sigils can be traded at item shops by any member of the two teams locating in their bases for items, such as wards, a limited amount of Phoenix tears and even special weapons, which have been provided by the Phoenix clan and Gregory respectively. When each time a player defeats their opponent in their lane, they will gain a special sigil that is worth multiple jungle sigils, based on the value of their evil pieces multiplied by 100. Sigils of Rook is worth 500 jungle sigils, and likewise sigils of Pawn will have a value of 100 jungle sigils each. Defeating the king will grant a sigil of king that has a value of 1200 jungle sigils. Keep in mind that a player will multiple evil pieces will worth a total of their value. Promotion for the pawns will also change how much they're worth. Special neutral objectives will also become available after a specific time into the game, granting potential game-changing advantages, from a lower cost when purchased items from shop, to a special buff, to allow you to charge up a powerful attack against a tower. To the team successfully defeats them and obtains their sigils. Securing the sigil of Dragon King will also cause special siege minions to start spawning from the team's base. These minions are specifically geared to take down structures, and will automatically target at the one closest to them, as they advance down the lanes. And that will be all for now. I will continue to explain as we get deeper into the game. Graphia finished, speaking up loudly as the crowd cheered. For now, both teams will start with 500 sigils of pawn, gaining 5 sigil every minute. You have 20 minutes to prepare. Good luck. How many times do you guys think she had to read that digital guidebook to be able to give that kind of presentation of the rules to the audience? Azazel laughed humorously, as he stood behind the shop counter with one elbow leaning against it. So, what can I get for you guys? He asked, grinning cheekily as he pulled out some items and placed them on the counter. If there was anyone who were enjoying themselves, it would be Azazel, who had volunteered to be the shopkeeper of the red team. We will kick things off with 4 wards, 1 control ward and 2 healing potions. Ryuz gave the order before asking, I don't believe you will give us a discount, are you, sensei? Not until you slain the wind elemental drake for that 5% discount. If we have the wind ones today, of course. Azazel spoke before he put the ordered items on the table. I can't overcharge you either, unless I want to be replaced. Obviously. Ryuz said as she paid for their items, having no doubt that Sona would start her team with the same setup, possibly 1 or 2 healing potions or control wards more than them, considering that they did not have a healer as strong as Ashia on their team. Though a couple of them would still be needed for the other lane. Each normal ward costed 75 sigils, while the control ward and potion needed 150 respectively. However, the wards that they would be using aren't going to give the same type of vision that they did in the game, while behaving the same way by becoming invisible using special cloaking technology designed by Gregory when used. It would only alert them of enemies' presences when they were in range, and because they didn't become intangible, enemy team could accidentally pump into it and destroy it in the process, so they would have to consider their location strategically and accordingly. Aside from granting them surveillance control in the same manner as a normal ward did, it would also deactivate every enemy's ward's cloaking technology within its range. Considering that there were invisible traps that cost 200 each, control wards would be important later on in the game. Alright guys, let's discuss our strategy. Ryuz spoke as she spread a map out on Azazel's counter. I believe we should fight for dragons. The first one will be available 20 minutes into the game if the dragons bit near bot lane, so we will need a strong bot side to gain control over the downstream of the river. Naruto and Ashia, you two along with Yumi, will take care of our bot lane. So, it's basically ADC and support. Naruto grinned before looking at Ashia, who was also smiling brightly at him. It was quite fitting, considering that those were their roles whenever they played duo with each other. Let's do our best, Ashia. Yes. You can trust me, Naruto-san. The former nun spoke, as Yumi cheered while hovering next to her. Alright, Akeno and I will take care of mid lane. We can use our wings to quickly move between lanes, or aid our junglers when needed. Zenobia and Gasper, you two will protect our top lane, do whatever you must, and buy teleportation spells when you can to help us secure the dragons. Ayaz continued as Gasper nodded his head nervously, while Zenobia was confident as always. Kaneko and Kiba, you two will be our junglers. The mentioned two nodded their heads in understanding. It was something that they had discussed before the game after Riaz had gotten the guidebook. Their abilities were best fit to become junglers, with Kiba's speed and technique with Kaneko's sensor ability. Plus, Kaneko was a diamond jungler in League, so she knew what she had to do literally better than all of them. Take these wards, Yudo-kun, Konik-chan. Akeno said as she handed the two the wards, with Kiba holding on the control one. We need to set up visions here and here in our jungles. Riaz said, as she took out a pen and used it to draw circles on the map. Kaneko, you will invade the enemy's jungles and steal their camps. Use your sensor ability to avoid the Sona's junglers if possible, but if you run into any of them, we will assist you. Kiba, you will take care of our jungles. Farm as fast as you can and move between lanes to gank, but fight for bot side 3 minutes before the first dragon, understood? Understood. Kaneko and Kiba nodded before Riaz leaned toward the white-haired cat girl and whispered something into her ears, making her whiten her eyes for a second, before nodding her head in understanding. Alright, you know your roles. Riaz announced as she put her pen away. Keep in mind that Sona won't hit us as hard as we are going to hit her in her peerage, but she will hit smart exactly where she need to. Watch out for any abnormalities. The sooner we discover her plan, the better. Yes. Naruto spoke along with everyone else. Hey Naruto-kun, can I talk to you for a second? Akeno spoke, as she stepped toward him and leaned forward to whisper into his ear with a playful smile. If we win today, I will. Naruto widened his eyes and almost dropped his jaw in shock at that. Really? He decided to ask her, just to be sure he heard it right. If you don't mind, of course. Akeno said, smiling at him before the blonde shook his head repeatedly. What are you guys talking about? Ayaz asked, patting cutely as she leaned toward her boyfriend and looked disapprovingly at him and her queen best friend, who merely had her giggle behind her hand before speaking. It's our secret, Riaz. I am sure that you will know eventually, so I don't want to spoil the fun. Riaz looked suspiciously at Akeno, before turning her attention back to Naruto. Her expression relaxed as she said with a smile, let's focus on the game for now, okay? The blonde nodded, allowing his girlfriend to continue. You know what you have to do, Naruto. It's time for him to show Sona, Momo and everyone else the result of their training. The strategizing time is over. Raiding game begins now. And with that announcement from Grafia, Naruto and the others began to move out of their base, with Ashia traveling down the bottom lane with him as Kaneko and Kiba headed into the jungles. Riaz and Akeno moved into the mid lane, and Zenobia and Gasper made their ways to the top. I see them. Yumi shouted as she flew above Ashia's head, having magically attached herself to the blonde bishop. It's the pervert. Here we go. You two watch out for each other. Naruto said, noticing Issei charging headfirst at him with boosted gear equipped in hand from his outer bot lane turret. Summoning Starfire Spellblade in his hand, Naruto leaped into the air and then brought his weapon down Issei, who then raised his sacred gear and blocked it, only wincing a little upon impact. Naruto had expected as much from the pawn of Sona Citri, who had been training with a former Dragon King and an ultimate class devil, else he would have been very disappointed, since they both cost the same number of pieces from their masters. Now Saji. Naruto widened his eyes when he saw Genshure Saji coming out of a bush and launching glowing lines from his sacred gear, which looked noticeably much larger than how it had been during the Battle of Reykjavik, as it's now big enough to cover up to his entire arm, at him. Quickly kicking Issei away with his left foot, Naruto then slashed his sword to the side to cut those lines only for Saji to pull them up and cause it to bend in midair and go around his neck. Forcing Naruto to split Starfire and use the second sword to cut the lines before it could wrap itself around his neck, at the same time simultaneously sending a wave of divine flame at Saji, who dodged. Do it, Issei. Naruto widened his eyes when he saw the victorious smirk on Saji's face, and turned his head back to the enemy pawn just in time to see him finishing gathering up power for his attack, a dragon shot with a lot more power than any he had used before. With a battle cry, Issei then launched it at Naruto, sending out a blast of energy that forced Naruto to use both of his swords to block, but still found himself being sent back before he could create a divine judgment shield around his body. When the attack ended, Naruto put his swords back into one and flipped around in midair to land beside Ashia, as Saji and Issei simultaneously charged at Naruto, but instantly stopped when several arrows in the form of prowling projectiles were fired at them, making them dodge and block before jumping back. You fire the arrows, Ashia. I will guide them. You got it, Yumi-chan. Ashia answered with a smile, after hearing Yumi's voice in her head. Well, Ashia-chan with cat ears. Saji exclaimed in shock, as Naruto stood up and silently thanked Ashia with a nod of his head toward the former nun. They now had a pair of cat ear on her head similar to Kaneko and Kuroka, and wielded in her hand an energy bow empowered by Yumi, after the feline champion had fused with her. So cute. Damn Casanova. Issei growled while glaring heatedly at Naruto as Ashia smiled cutely at him. The cat ears on the top of her head made her cuteness go to another level. Let's beat him up together, Saji. You got it, Hiidu. Saji said determinedly as he cracked his knuckle. Let's prove our strength by beating him here. Here they come, Ashia. Naruto said as the Book of Threshold appeared and floated around her. Let's take them down together, and then destroy their turd. Yes, Naruto-san. Ashia nodded as she readied her bow. I see. Sona Citri smiled as she spoke to Saji using a communication spell. Thanks for the intel, Saji. With that said, the call ended and Sona, with her Queen Tsubaki Shinra, turning her attention back to Rias and Akeno, who were standing beside their mid-lane outer turret, before speaking up loud enough for both of them to hear. It appears that our assumption is correct, Tsubaki. Naruto Uzumaki-kun has reached the point where he can fuse his champions with his allies. Targeting Naruto and Ashia with your core servants and forcing her to reveal our trump cards early to you. You really did prepare for everything, didn't you, Sona? Rias asked with a small smile with her arms crossing under her breasts. It's something you have to think about after the Battle of Reykjavik, and seeing how you guys were able to pilot as Mecha Kingdom champions. Your boyfriend's sacred gear is still a mystery to us all, so we have to assume that anything is possible for him at this point. Sona stated, making Rias smile. As expected of the young woman who she considered to be her rival. The question for me now is, where are your champions? Just so you know, I do not expect Uzumaki-kun to let you guys come here and face us without any backups or preparations. Why don't you take a guess, Sona? Rias asked while smiling mysteriously as she put a finger on her lips, and also, try to figure out the champions that he has assigned to me and Akeno. It appears that this battle will be just as difficult as we have expected. Saying that, Sona then put her hands together and caused the water from the nearby river to flow into the blue magic circle, with the crest of the Citri that appeared in her palms, as Tsubaki summoned her wings and took off into the air. But do not expect us to not come prepared, Rias. I will not give up until our dream is realized. I expect as much from you, Sona. Rias spoke as an intense crimson aura surrounded her body. Above their heads, the sky began to darken with bolts of lightning streaking through the clouds, as Akeno called for her magic. Let's put on a show, before we crush you. She finished, hardening her gaze. With that, Sona and Rias sent their demonic powers at each other, generating massive explosions upon coming into contact with each other in the air. Above them, Akeno and Tsubaki engaged each other in an aerial magic combat, with the bespectacled queen creating reflecting mirrors to counter Akeno's powerful holy lightning with the power itself. You cannot hide from me, Momo-senpai. Kaneko spoke nonchalantly, as she quickly located Momo Hanakai hiding in a bush, and attacked her with two flames-like senjutsu aura blasts, forcing her out of her hiding place. Why does it feel like you are targeting me specifically, Kaneko-chan? Momo cried as she sidestepped and avoided another aura blast from Kaneko, as the first-year cat girl chazzed after running past a jungle camp of bird-like creatures. Momo wasn't wrong. Kaneko, well, I trust that Naruto won't let his personal feeling get in the way. I want you to keep track of and target Momo Hanakai specifically, just in case Sona decides to take advantage of his relationship with Momo. Do not let her go anywhere near our bot lane, no matter the role she is assigned to in this match. You are full of opening, Momo-senpai. Kaneko then said, as she leaped over Momo's head, dodging a fireball being shot at her by the Bishop of Sona Citri, before landing in front of her, and twirling around to thrust her palm into her abdomen, immobilizing her before dealing the finishing blow, thus eliminating her from the game. First blood has been drawn. Kaneko Taoju of Ria's Gremory Sama's peerage has slain Momo Hanakai of Sona Citri Sama's peerage. Due to the new retiring system that had been designed for this new game mode, Momo would be teleported back to her team's medical clinic, and healed up by the best healers in the underworld, allowing her to return to the battlefield. Much like League, however, the later into the game they were, the longer it would take for a down player to return to game. Moreover, while the healers might be able to fix all the injuries, the more severe they were, the harder it would be for them to full patch someone up. Of course, a purchase of Phoenix tier would easily fix all the damages, but the item was limited to 2 vials per team. Since it was only a couple of minutes into the game, Momo would be able to return soon, but that was more than enough time for Kaneko to steal the older white-haired girl's nearest jungle camp, before leaving a ward behind and returning to her own jungle. How are you doing, Yudo-senpai? Kaneko spoke into their comm device as she made her way to the nearest jungle camp. Hold on Kaneko-chan, I am helping out our top lane. Kiba answered as he jumped down from a tree branch and blocked a sword strike by Tomu Meguri, the knight of Sona Citri, who was targeting Gasper specifically while her partner Tsubasa Yura were fighting Zenobia. Using her sacred gear Twinkle Aegis to create Shield of Light to block Zenobia's devastating blows with Durandal. Understood, I will head back to base and set up more visions around the river once I am done here. Kaneko announced before she headed back to the river separating the two teams' jungles from each other. But felt a presence behind her and stopped herself just before she could run face first into a barrier. You are not going anywhere, Kaneko-chan. Kaneko then heard Momo's voice, and dashed to the side to dodge a barrage of lightning-infused water spears shooting at her from above, looking up to see Momo flying above her with two glowing bracelets on her wrists. How did she get here so fast? Did she use teleportation? But those bracelets on her wrists had to be Applause Wall, an artifact sacred gear that was one of the items that the team could purchase from the shop. Sure, a full clear of 7 jungle camps would give a team enough money to invest in a teleportation spell and a special item, but when did they do it, and how were they able to do it so fast without them knowing? Then it hit her. So, you want to keep me here for as long as possible, don't you, senpai? Kaneko asked as she covered herself in an aura of Kai. You purposely allowed yourself to be defeated for a faster back, didn't you? You're not wrong, Kaneko-chan. You attack hurt a lot, but it was necessary. Momo said as she raised her hands and caused several magic circles of different elemental magic to appear. So 3 junglers huh? Naruto asked as he blocked a punch from Saji and kicked Issei away again, with Kaneko shooting another prowling arrow at him, which curved and changed direction, when Issei tried to counter it with a dragon shot and hit him in the back. The bot lane duo had just been informed that Ruruko Numura, A.N. In canon, Numura is Sona's pawn, but I have changed her role in this story. The other knight of Sona had arrived in top lane to aid her allies against Zenobia, Gasper and Kiba, equalizing them in number and possibly strength. The other bishop Ryakusaka, meanwhile, had yet to be seen in lanes. She had to be Sona's 3rd junglers, the one who had been clearing out jungle camps while avoiding Kiba and Kaneko using her sacred gear scouting persona. Giving Momo enough sigils to purchase Applause Wall, and then return to the battlefield to imprison Kaneko within its barriers, cutting them off a jungler. Sona had known from the start that Rias would order Kaneko to track down Momo too, to avoid Naruto holding himself back against her. While using the blonde's feeling for her bishop against him had been Sona's original plan, the Citri heiress had realized that taking advantage of the fact that Rias would want to keep it from happening, would be much better for them strategically. Heh, that's called strength in number. Saji said before blasting them with a vortex of black flame from the sacred gear on his shoulder, forcing Naruto to dodge, while Ashia created a barrier around her and shielded herself from the flame, which continued to linger around even after Saji had stopped. I would continue to keep that shield up if I were you, Ashia-chan. And I would watch out for my surrounding if I were you, Genshin. Even before that suggestion was finished, Saji had been launched across the lane when Naruto shot toward him and punched him square in the face. Being a rook with immense durability, it did not take it long for Saji to get back on his feet, with his eyes burning with even more determination than before. Saji, we are not going to defeat him at this rate. Issei said as he held up his gauntlet, let's fight with everything we got. For Kaichu's dream. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker with that announcement from the green jewel of his sacred gear, Issei's whole body was enveloped in a bright red light, as the pawn of Sona Citri donned himself in dragon scale mail, similar to that of Volley's, but the armors were red in color. I will show you the result of my training with Old Man Tannen. Issei shouted before launching himself at Naruto at tremendous speed, giving Saji an opening to connect an absorption line to himself, converting his own life force into magic power, before charging into the fight with his friend. The two attacked Naruto's fiercely, throwing punches and kicks at the blonde, and forcing him into a defensive stance, as they began to push him back. For a moment, they seemed to be overpowering Naruto, and even the Demon King watching in the VIP stance, could see how difficult it was for him to make an attack against the two. Until Naruto began to glow brightly with yellow electricity coursing across his entire body, as a wide smirk appeared on his face. Just a split second before Issei and Saji could react, Naruto cocked his fist back, and then threw it forward to unleash a blast of built-up energy at his two opponents, sending them flying back and crashing into the trees behind them. As Issei was the one who took the blast directly, several parts of his scale mail were broken and shattered in many places, while Saji took less damage due to also being a rook. That line there, Naruto said as he looked at the line on Saji's chest. Behind him, Ashia had managed to get out of the ring of black flame. Are you converting your own life force into magic power? That's right, Saji said as he stood up. At the same time Issei got himself back to his feet as well as the cracks on his scale mail disappear, repairing itself. I'm not gifted magic-wise, so this is the only way for me to challenge a monster like you in terms of magic power. As you can see it here, my very life is on the line. Are you trying to kill yourself? Naruto asked as Ashiya gasped in shock, losing the will to draw back the string of her bow. Just so you know, Uzumaki, we're all ready to die here if it means beating you guys here. Issei growled, causing Naruto to widen his eyes in shock for the first time. Do you have any idea how much it hurts to have your dream ridiculed back then? Do you know how desperately each one of us believe in Kaichu's dream? This fight is broadcasted throughout the entire underworld, so the Citri peerage has to show those who mocked us that we are serious about our dream. Saji shouted as he balled his hands into fists. Naruto's face lost its color when he finally realized just how serious they were. Hold on, does that mean Momo-chan will also? Like us, even Momo-chan is willing to sacrifice her own life, if it means to bring us one step closer to our dream. Issei said, so don't mess around with us. We will beat you here and prove our strength. With that declaration, Issei rushed at Naruto again with speed even greater than before. His whole body became a red blur. Naruto, who was ready for him, blocked the first punch, but the surprising strength of Issei's second attack broke the forearm guard of his metal bracer completely, causing Naruto's arm to slam into his own face, before he was knocked to the side. Just in time for Saji to come at him from that side and send his knee into the blonde's gut, sending him tumbling back and rolling on the ground a few times before he was able to flip around and stop himself. Naruto-san, I will. No, stand back. Before Ashiya could even raise her bow or finish that sentence, Naruto had already stopped Ashiya as he met both Saji and Issei head-on. Save your strength to heal the others when we get back to base. I know you want to help me, but these two idiots are mine. Wah! What the fuck did you just call us, you bastard? Issei cried out in annoyance and frustration from behind his helmet as he unleashed a blast of demonic power that was so big it covered half the lane at him, only for Naruto to arcane shift behind him with Ezreal's Gauntlet of Nezuko, kicking him in the back of his scale mail before bringing up his sword and cutting away Saji's absorption lines, including the one that was draining away his life force. Engulfing himself in dragon fire, Issei then unleashed it toward Naruto in a torrent when he knocked Saji down with a hard punch to the face, before summoning Anivia and allowing the Cryophonix to flap her wings strongly, sending a powerful gush of wind at Issei's dragon flame, clashing it in the middle before dispersing each other. But just a second before his opponent's flame could disappear, Naruto had already busted through it, fusing himself with the winged spirit of Fraljord. Saji tried to restrain him with his third virtuous sacred gear, but Naruto began to move even faster, avoiding his shadowy aura before coming at Issei with a full swing of his sword. Issei-kun. Saji-kun. The two then heard a shout, and Naruto turned his head up just in time to see Saji's absorption line, wrapping around what looked like a flashbang grenade, pumping it full of demonic energy, and making it explode with even greater intensity than normal. Blinding both Naruto and Ashiya, his heightened senses due to fusing with Yumi, made it even worse for her. Buck instantly shot down and used its own body to block an attack from Ryakusaka, who came out of the forest, before Ashiya raised her hand, and made Book open up to unleash the magic wave of last chapter, sending the opponent bishop back. Naruto, whose vision was severely damaged by that blinding flash of light just now, was met with a full-on assault by both Saji and Issei. What they both did not expect, however, was for Naruto to be able to block and dodge every attack they threw at him, even though he could not see anything and had his eyes closed. What kind of kung fu shit is this? Issei asked in frustration as Naruto parried all of his punches and kicked before sending his foot into his gut and sending him crashing through another tree. One of my teachers is blind, you know. Naruto said as he grabbed Saji's foot in mid-kick before elbowing him in the face. He made sure I knew how to use all my senses when fighting, not just my eyes. Naruto said, taking advantage. But no matter how punches Naruto sent at him, no matter how hard he kicked Saji, the Rook refused to back down, and Naruto could see that it wasn't just because of his Rook attributes alone that was making him stand firmly on his feet and try to fight back. Issei tried to aid him, but whenever he was near Naruto would quickly hit him away, keeping the two from ganging up on him again. We are not going to lose to you, here. Stay down, Saji. Naruto spoke with a nod of his head, before he spun around sent a devastating dragon's rage kick to the side of his face, knocking him down and out finally. Naruto Uzumaki of Ria's Gremory Sama's peerage has slain Genshuru Saji of Sona Citri Sama's peerage. As Grafia made that announcement and Saji got teleported back to blue base, Naruto used the momentum of his kick to launch himself at Issei, meeting him head-on with a barrage of punches and kicks, the two of them clashing so hard that their blows generated strong shockwaves. It did not take it long for Issei to find himself being overwhelmed, however, as Naruto knew he had to take the other pawn down fast and hard, or else Saji would have enough to recover and come back to the fight. Unless of course, he was forced to use a Phoenix tier, then it would be an early win for their team. Boost. 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 Take this. Issei shouted and attempted to blast Naruto off with a point-blank range dragon shot, only for Naruto to suddenly increase his speed once again, flying past him with his head crouching low to avoid his dragon claws before stomping his left foot into the ground to stop himself, and then shot his right one up to do a backward kick to the back of Issei's head, shattering his armor and kicking him toward his own turret. Before Issei could recover, Naruto summoned Ash's weapon, the Bow of Avarosa, and fired an empowered enchanted crystal arrow at the Red Dragon Emperor, shattering upon hitting him and encasing him along with his turret in a chunk of ice. Damn it, what the hell is this ice? Issei grunted as he struggled to break free. True ice. You wouldn't be able to break out of it that easily, Issei. Naruto answered. Not allowing Issei to have a split second to break free, the Naruto then summoned Volibear and fused with him, calling for the power of the relentless storm, before he brought it all down upon Issei, at the same time disabling the turret's defense mechanism. The Red Dragon Emperor cried out in pain as he was shocked to the core by Naruto's lightning, before the blonde sent an uppercut to his jaw and knocked him into the air, before calling down a bolt of lightning to strike him in the chest, sending him crashing into his turret, shattering his armor and leaving a crack on the disabled structure. As Issei stumbled forward with blood dripping out of his armors, Naruto threw away his sword and lunged at Issei, grabbing his neck and leaping into the air. He spun around, building up power and momentum before coming down and slamming him full force into his turret with the showstopper, briefly infusing its power by using his balance breaker to turn Set into Obsidian Dragon Set, breaking both Issei's scale mail along with the turret, with the strength equal to that of a true dragon. Rya's Gremory-sama's team has destroyed Sona Citrusama's first turret. Naruto Uzumaki of Rya's Gremory-sama's peerage has slain Issei Hidu of Sona Citrusama's peerage. With that double announcements from Grafia, Naruto got up and turned his attention back to Ashia, who was struggling against Rya, as her offensive strength and magic proved too much for the blonde to handle, but it was understandable. Naruto didn't waste any time to come in and aid her, taking Rya out with a slash of starfire. Naruto Uzumaki of Rya's Gremory-sama's peerage has slain Rya Kusaka of Sona Citrusama's peerage. You okay, Ashia? Naruto asked as he walked over to Ashia and offered the nun a hand. Ashia had only trained with Yumi a few days before the raiding game, so utilizing her strength was still incredibly taxing on her body, despite being magically gifted as a bishop. Plus, Ashia's kindness and gentle nature would never allow her to harm anyone on Sona's peerage, not after their showcase of strength and determination to fulfill their dream. Sure, she could provide support, but that was it for her. Yes, I will be fine, Naruto-san. Thank you. Ashia nodded as she took Naruto's hand and allowed him to pull her back to her feet. You're welcomed. Come on, we got some money to spend now. Let's head back to Sona Citrusama's Queen Tsubaki Shurna has slain Zenobia and Gaspar Vladi of Rya's Gremory-sama's peerage. Tsubasa Yura has destroyed a turret. The foo? Naruto widened his eyes as Ashia gasped at Grafia's announcement. What are they doing in top lane? Come on Ashia, let's get back to base quickly. With that said, the two of them hurriedly made their way back to base. Reversal huh? With Kiba and Akeno standing her side, Rya's asked with a sweat trickling down the side of her face, as she glanced at Sona and the members of her team that were present in their top lane. Where their battle had moved to after Akeno noticed the presence of an enemy moving past a ward they had put in the river at high speed, having been forced to retreat back to their second turret, after the first one had been destroyed, with Zenobia and Gaspar being temporarily removed from the fight. With artificial sacred gear reversal, Tsubasa had changed the holy attribute of Zenobia's Durandal to demonic, thus allowing her and her teammates to have an easier time blocking her strikes. Getting careless because of it, Zenobia had decided to put more strength in her blows, and that soon proved to be her mistakes, as Tsubasa deactivated her power just the moment Zenobia tried to strike Tsubaki, who created Mirror Alice to reflex the blue-haired girl's attack back to her, successfully taking her out of the fight with a direct blow. Gaspar, meanwhile, was taken out when his mouth was stuffed full of garlic. I heard that you guys came to Grigori a few days ago, but I did not expect you to be able to obtain such an annoying artificial sacred gear from them. As I told you, Ryas, we came prepared. Sona said as a water dragon formed behind her, rushing at Ryas and her two servants, who got ready for it. Before the water dragon could reach them, however, an arrow shot into it and from there, ice began to form at a rapid pace, solidifying the water dragon, and freezing it completely in place just in time for Naruto to launch himself down and destroy it with a blow. Naruto-kun. Naruto. Ryas called in relief when she saw her boyfriend landing before them, causing the Citri group to step back in caution. However, when she caught a glimpse of the faint smile on Sona's face, it did not take it long for Ryas to realize it, but if you are here then. Don't worry, Ryas. Naruto smirked as he directed his gaze at Sona. You seem to focus only on all the cool tricks that I can do with my champions, Sona Kaichu, that you have forgotten that I can also summon them to fight for me. And there is a reason that they are chosen as champions of the League of Legends. Sona's eyes widened at that, and turned her head to look at Tsubaki, who immediately checked on Issei and Saji's conditions. The original plan was to draw Naruto's attention away from bot lane, when the first dragon became available, so her junglers and bot laners could safely capture it. Issei, how? Hello there, honey, how do you do? Instead of the voice of the Red Dragon Emperor, Tsubaki widened her eyes in surprise when she heard a sultry female voice instead. Issei Hidu has been slain. Rya's Gremory-sama's team has slain the Earth Dragon. Earth Dragon meant that their structure's magical defense had been lowered. Rias and her team would now have a much easier time bringing down their turrets and towers. "Two can play the number game, Kaichu," Naruto said as he stood up and spoke to his team. "I think it's time we push them back, everyone." With that, the demigod of Thunder Volibear emerged from the nearby forest, unleashing an earth-shaking roar as lightning. A feminine figure then dashed to Ria's side and left behind her a trail of plasma energy behind, as Kaisa rose up to her feet and opened her mask to reveal her face, whilst a beautiful, doe-like young woman jumping down and skipping toward Kiba. Wearing a white-blue dress and had blue hair tied into twin tails with large drill-like curls resting on her chest, wielding in her hand a massive scissors. "Let's show them how we Gremory do teamfight." In a blinding flash of light, the relentless Storm Volibear, the daughter of the Void Kaisa and the hallowed seamstress Gwen disappeared, fading from view as they merged themselves with Akeno, Rias and Kiba respectively. When the light died down, Akeno was the first to make her move, taking off into the air with her wings. The priestess of Holy Lightning now wearing her Shrine Maiden outfit, as her hair had turned snowy white, and now featuring two large long braids on both sides, in a manner similar to that of Volibear. "Storm unleashed," Akeno announced and called down a bolt of divine lightning with one hand raising above her head. In the other, Tsubaki tried to use her mirror Alice to reflex it back to Akeno, only to see it shatter upon impact before striking the ground, generating an explosion of lightning that was so great it covered the entire lane, forcing every member of the Citri group to use their wings to avoid getting swallowed up in it. "Tsubaki!" Sona shouted as Tsubaki was taken down and teleported back to base, before she was forced to raise a shield of water to block a crimson plasma shot coming underneath her. She tried to locate her attacker and knew for a fact that it was Rias, but couldn't see her anywhere. Her other servants tried to aid her, but Kibayudo suddenly dashed into the fight, wielding Gwen's scissors on his shoulder, as he created several dagger-sized needles from the hallowed mist surrounding his body, and threw it at them, binding them down to the ground with glowing strings that extended from the needle eye, and wrapped itself around their bodies. Being pinned down, there was little that they could do against Naruto and Kiba's joint assault, both coming at them hard and fast with their weapons. "We came prepared too, Sona." Sona then heard Ria's voice coming from behind her, and turned her head around just in time to see her rival. He's now wearing Kaisa biosuit, which had a crimson glow instead of the usual purple, dashing toward her, moving in a zigzag formation to dodge Sona's water bullets. Arriving directly underneath Sona, Rias immediately took a strong leap into the air, and threw a punch at her face, sending her crashing down before the wings on her shoulders opened up to rain power of destruction, infused plasma missiles down upon Sona, who created a shield to block, but soon found herself being forced onto her knees, as she tried to withstand Ria's violent assault. When it ended, Sona looked up just in time to see Rias dashing toward her, and joining with the faint foreimage of her killer instinct, that had appeared right in front of Sona, surprising the Citri heirs with a gush of wind to the face before she crouched down, allowing a void blast she had fired beforehand to hit Sona, sending her tumbling back before she was teleported back to her base. Without even taking a second to celebrate their teamfight victory, the Gremory group, rejoined by Zenobia, Ashia, Gasper and eventually Kaneko, who appeared to have had a tough battle against Momo, headed towards Sona's top lane towers, and brought it down together one after another, leaving them crumble to pieces behind them as they charged into the blue base. "You guys can't hold on to that powers for too long, can you, Rias?" Sona asked as she stood alongside her servants, who had returned to base for a final team fight against Rias and her group, right after they had destroyed the top lane inhibitor, rendering the Nexus turrets targetable. The lack of injuries on her Queen's body was the proof that she had used a vial of Phoenix Tear on Tsubaki instead of herself. "You're not wrong there, Sona." Rias spoke as Kaisa separated from her and returned to Runeterra after giving the Gremory heiress and her summoner an encouraging nod. Above her head and beside her, Kiba and Akeno were also forced to separate themselves from Gwen and Volibear respectively, returning them to their normal appearance. "If we keep our fusion with Naruto's champions for too long, we will begin to drain ourselves of our power faster than we can use them. We still need our strength to beat you guys in the last team fight after all." "I see," Sona said. "Unfortunately for you, Rias, that is why this is as far as you and your team can go. Unless of course, Naruto-kun has another secret power that he has yet to show us, but he doesn't, does he?" "So, you have a trump card up your sleeve too, huh?" Rias asked, expecting as much from her rival before Saji engulfed his entire body in black-purple flame, transforming himself into a large serpent-like black-colored dragon, with black tentacles around him as he roared at the Gremory heiress and her group, who stood their grounds. Virtua promotion. This is something that can only happen when all four Virtua's sacred gears are present on a single individual. Sona announced. "Saji cannot control this form for too long, so we have to save it as a last resort. We are 30 minutes into the game, Rias. If we defeat you all here, then we will have more than enough time to head straight to your base and destroy your nexus." Sona finished with a burning look in her eyes. "So let's settle it here, shall we?" "Wouldn't want it any other way, Sona," Rias said, and Naruto gave Momo one last look before the two groups charged at each other. Later on that day, Naruto found himself walking down the hallway of a medical facility with a bunch of white flowers in his hand. The last team fight against Sona Citri and her peerage had been incredibly difficult, but Naruto and his friends had been the ones who emerged victorious. In the end, Sona's gamble in Saji almost would have paid off if it hadn't been for the fact that Naruto could summon powerful warriors from another war to aid them in their battle against him and his allies. The match had been totally different than the one they had had with Riser Phoenix, with Sona showcasing her own leadership and strategical mind by using risky but lethal tactics that aimed to push everyone to fight with everything they had. Her target had been him specifically, as she had aimed to force him to reveal his new power to her early, so she could devise a plan against it. How much she respected him and his power had been what made her so scary in their match, as she seemed to have prepared for every possible types of abilities that his sacred gear could evolve into. Similar to how Azazel had figured it out and given Naruto the idea of allowing his allies to wield the strength of his champions. Moreover, each and every single one of her servants had been willing to put their own life on the line in order to make her plans work. It had been their determination, their loyalty to Sona, and their willingness to lay down their life for their shared dream to be recognized and accepted that had kept them, the Gremory group, from obtaining an easy victory. Thinking about that, Naruto could only sigh before he continued his way towards his destination. "Please come in." A soft voice answered when Naruto raised his hand and knocked on the door of a room. Putting his hand on the doorknob, Naruto then opened the door and walked in to see Momo Hanakai sitting up on her hospital bed, smiling brightly when she saw that it was him. "Ah, Naruto-kun, come on in." She then looked at the bunch of flowers in his hands and asked, "Is that for me?" "Yeah, I didn't know what to get you, so I went for the ones with the same color of your hair." Naruto grinned as he handed Momo the flowers. "I hope you like it." "I do. Thank you so much, Naruto-kun." Momo smiled at him and put the flowers down on her lap, as Naruto pulled a chair over to sit next to her bed. "So how are you feeling, Momo-chan?" Naruto asked, looking at the white-haired girl in concern. "I'm feeling much better now, Naruto-kun. Thank you for asking." Momo answered before she placed a hand on her hip, one of the places where Kaneko had struck her, but the places where Kaneko-chan hit me still hurt a lot. "She's so strong." "You're incredibly strong too, Momo-chan. Kaneko-chan told me that you almost beat her twice, and considering that she has been training by her sister, I don't think that is something anyone can scoff at." Naruto reasoned, making Momo beam at him. "You are quite amazing too, Naruto-kun. Sona Kaichu and Tsubaki-senpai were right to see you as the most dangerous member of Ria-senpai's peerage." "Ah well, thanks for the compliment, Momo-chan." Naruto grinned while rubbing his nose before continuing, "But don't get used to it though. I heard that the organizers were planning to give some balancing changes to the rules to keep me from just summon an army, and overwhelm my opponents with number to make it fair for everyone else in this tournament." "Really?" "Yeah, don't know how they are going to do it though, but we'll see when the next match is announced." Naruto shrugged before asking, "So have you been hearing anything about Saji and Issei?" Momo shook her head before answering her question. "Ah, you don't have to worry about them, Naruto-kun. Sona Kaichu came earlier and told me both Saji-kun and Issei-kun have gotten back on their feet earlier today, though it will probably take some time for them to recover." "Good to know. Those two idiots really went out of their way to try to defeat me, but I guess that make them both admirable idiots," Naruto added, making Momo smile. "Just spend some time with them, you will realize that they are both as bad as they seem." "Yeah right, I will try." Naruto couldn't help but chuckle at that. "I heard that Saji was chosen to receive the Medal of Honor to the one who left the biggest impression in the game, wasn't he?" Momo nodded her head in confirmation. "Good for him. It's amazing how he was able to turn into that giant dragon. He and Issei are both a force to be reckoned with." That was something Naruto not afraid to admit. It felt like if he didn't work and train even harder from now on, he would be left behind by them. "I will let them know you think about them that way." "Please don't." Naruto rolled his eyes as Momo hid her giggle behind a hand. "So now that we have beaten you guys." The blonde then got uncomfortable as he raised a hand and scratched the back of his head uncomfortably before continuing. "Do you still want to go on that date that I promised you?" "I actually don't know about that one anymore, Naruto-kun. You did try to shoot me during the last team fight, after all," Momo said, tapping her bottom lip thoughtfully, making Naruto chuckle nervously before saying, "Well, I'm a bit hungry at the moment, so if you go buy me something to eat, then I will reconsider it. After you put these beautiful flowers into that vase over there, of course." She finished, pointing her vase at the vase with some flowers on the drawer next to her bed. "Your wish is my command, Milady." Naruto stood up, bowing her head to Momo with a playful grin before getting to work, making Momo laugh as she watched him move around the room. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.